Can everyone in the back hear me? Unfortunately, I only have a short time to speak today. My topic today is how important English is for you, and I have so many things I want to talk about. And I plan to talk for 3 hours. But they said I can only speak for 30 minutes. So I cannot say everything I want to say about English, but hopefully I can tell you something that will be useful and something that will be helpful for you. But of course I cannot tell you everything. So if there's anything missing today, you can come and ask me later, or contact my company, Language later, to find out more. So let's begin. I am multitasking today. I am speaking, breathing, walking, and using the clicker at the same time. I want to talk about the origin of English. Why is English a super language? Why? English goes back about 2,000 years. But let's talk about modern English. 300 years ago, not many people spoke English, but now lots of people speak English. Why? Basically, there was a big industrial revolution about 250 years ago, and it involved a lot of technology and a lot of improvements in the way we can make things and grow things. And the country the industrial revolution came from was England. And when they started exporting all their technology, they started exporting English with the industrial revolution. And the British Empire. You know about the British Empire? At one time, it covered maybe 1/2 of the world. So English spread to the world through the British Empire. And there's a reference there if you want to check. So the first reason English is very dominant today is because of the British Empire. The second reason is the reason that you know about a lot, is because there's another empire after the British Empire called the American Empire. And the American Empire is, a lot of Americans maybe don't like to use the word empire, but it is an empire. And the American culture export is everywhere, including here. The culture export is exporting technology, food, architecture, literature, science, everything in English. So if you want to know about anything that's produced in America or the West, you really need to know English. If you don't, you won't be able to access the amount of information in the world. This is just a quick graph where English comes from. English is not pure. English is not a pure language. English is like a, can I speak Vietnamese? English is like a ngoại ngữ còn lại. Còn các cái ngữ khác, German, Latin, French, even some Indian is in English. So English is not pure. It draws from many different sources. So that's why English is very lucky, because it comes from many different sources. German, French, Latin, even some Eastern languages. It is very flexible. English is very adaptable. We can make up new words very easily. And this makes it very interesting and very exciting to learn. And it also makes it very suitable as some kind of world language as well. English as a second language. This is what you are all interested in, I think. This is what the British Council said. By 2020, there will be 2 billion people who will be learning English. That's more than the population of China. That's more than 2 times the population of India. Does anyone know how many people in the world? How many billion people in the world? How many? 7 billion? Okay. I heard 6.5, but that was yesterday. Maybe today already 7 billion already. So 2 billion out of 7 billion, it's a lot of people using English as a second language. 3/4 of the people who speak English are not first language, they are second language like you. It's very, very amazing how quickly it's spreading. English is so important all over the world, in Asia and Europe, the subcontinent, Africa, America, that it is, in 75 countries at least, it's the official language. 75 countries. And approximately 750 million people speak English as a foreign language, but they're very uncertain. They're very uncertain. It's probably more than that now. 1 out of 4 of the world's population speak English. Some more information. Something about English in Asia. English in Asia is very important now. When I first came to Vietnam in 1992, all of the students I was teaching in 1992, all of them were learning Russian. And then in 1993, those students I met after the summer holiday, I said, "How is your Russian?" They said, we are learning English this year." And in 1992, I think 93, everyone changed from Russian to English. And suddenly, Russian was no longer the main language, second language for Vietnamese. The main second language was English. It happened very quickly. 1992. Maybe some of you can remember that time. It was a very exciting time. In 1992, I couldn't get a job teaching English. In 1993, I had too many students to teach in English. It happened very, very quickly. And that was the start in Vietnam. But in Asia, so many of the very successful countries in Asia have been officially recognizing English for a long time. There's one example here, the South Korean president in 2008. He said, English is so important that in 2010 we need to use it as the sole medium, the main language to teach in high schools. That's amazing. That's what the Korean president said. Can you imagine that happening in Vietnam? Can you imagine that the government in Vietnam said from next year, everyone in high schools has to use English? It's quite radical and amazing and very difficult to do, but that's how important the president of Korea could see English. There's another example in Asia of the importance of English. Laos, your neighbour, very small population, maybe about 2 million people, a rural country, maybe in development, a long way behind Vietnam, but they already are teaching English as a compulsory subject in high school and secondary school in Laos, your neighbour. Already they are doing it. This is not just a trend, this is a very long-term commitment that many countries are making. And a small country like Laos making English compulsory in high school, to me, that is a very strong sign that they know that English is important, actually essential for the future. Some more information here about English and Singapore. Of course, Singapore is one of the most successful nation states in Asia. We all have been there. It's an amazing place. English is virtually an official language in Singapore. It's also an official language in the Philippines. And there was a recent survey which said that 74% of the people use English to communicate with foreigners. That's 74% of the whole population. That means that their economy and their working life and their other aspects of life are integrated so much with English that if you don't speak English, you are in the 26%, you are in the minority. It's an amazing statistic. Also, Vietnam, of course, a member of ASEAN. English is the working language of the 10-country ASEAN club. And that's 600 million people. By 2015, in 2 more years, it will become the neutral or common language for the region. So that means, amongst all the Asian countries, in 2 years' time, the language that will be spoken between the countries will be English. It won't be French, it won't be Chinese, it won't be Japanese, it will be English. And that's 2 years away. So you still have time to catch up. Let's talk a bit about Vietnam now, where we are. where we're living and working at the moment. Vietnam, the way I understand it, has been very aggressive in recognising English, and the government has made some very big steps to integrate English into the education system. Everyone has heard of the 2020 project? The 2020 project? A language league is involved in part of the 2020 project. It's a huge project. It's worth a lot of money, and 85% of the program's $450 million budget will be spent on teacher training, and a lot of that teacher training will be for English teachers, because the way to improve the English at the schools in Vietnam is to upgrade the teacher training schools of Vietnamese teachers who are teaching English. How important is English? Again, I want to give you some examples, just to highlight how important English is. Another research survey was done. The internet. 1 million most visited websites in the world show that over half of the websites use English as their content language. That means, if you don't know English, half of the internet source you cannot access. You cannot. And if you only know one language like Vietnamese, maybe you can only access 2 or 3% or maybe 1% of the internet. But if you know English, suddenly you can access over half of the internet. And as you know, for work and study, now, the future, all of your information will come from the internet. If you don't know English, your future career is in serious risk, I would say. Facebook, everyone's got a Facebook account? I've got 45,000 friends on Facebook, and we all use English, and most of my friends don't come from English-speaking countries. And again, over half of the Facebook users use English, even if it's not their first language. So for work or pleasure, you need English now. It's absolutely essential. This is another graph for you, how important English is on the internet, and you can see more than half is English, and there's a lot of other languages that take up small slices on the pie. But English, you can see, is over half. Okay, some more information about English. I think you know, anyone who's been to university, anyone who's done a business course, you would have read some business books. Those business books would have been in English. If you study sciences, if you study physics, the physics books that you would have studied at university probably come from an English textbook originally. Most things do. Technology, science, business. The three main subjects in Vietnam, they're all English-based. If you don't know English, you cannot improve your knowledge of those subjects. Research. English dominates in the research field. And if you are doing research in anything and you want to become very, very famous, if your research is not produced or distributed in English, no one will know about it. Your research will need to be distributed in English at some stage for people, for the world to learn about it. And again, about the websites, it's mostly in English. This is something about what people, this is a survey done about what people like you think, what people think. What do people think about the importance of English to get a promotion at your company? What people think is this. People think that three quarters of the people surveyed say that English is absolutely necessary, it's required. That's 75%. That means that if you don't have English, you will have no real possibility to get a higher position in your company. English to develop your career. This is what managers in your companies and my company, this is what we think. We think that English is essential for nearly all of our staff. And if you don't have English, the chances of you getting a job at our company is nearly impossible. And this is what most managers think. Of the survey done, 50% of workers communicate in English with co-workers. And it's going up every year. Every year it's going up. Last year it was 54, then it went to 57. It's going to keep going up. As every year goes by, the use of English is getting more and more and more at all of these companies. So, this is very strange, but it's true. English equals jobs, equals income. If you have good English, the chance of getting a good job is high, and with a good job, you have a good chance of getting a good income. And if you have a good income, you have a good chance of having a good quality of life. And you have a good chance to give the best future for your children. So English isn't just a language, it's something that can be very, very useful and very important in your career. If you have it, it's like a gold pass. Another survey, a lot of surveys today. There was another survey done across the Middle East, Africa, and the survey said that the speakers of English can earn as much as 3 times more than people who don't speak English. I was looking for information in Vietnam. I couldn't find it in Vietnam, but I can tell you about my company, Language Link. I'd say that the people who speak English at Language Link probably learn at least double the salary of other staff who don't speak English. Because the staff who don't speak English, they are not able to interact with most people in the company. It can be very limited what they can do. Another survey, Euromonitor, they interviewed over 40 middle and large-sized companies in Africa and the Near East, which are 2 areas which are developing very, very fast, which is why I'm talking about them. And this is their requirement. They require most of their staff to have at least an intermediate level of English. Does anyone know what an intermediate level of English is? Approximately, intermediate level of English would be the level of English you have after you study for about 3 or 4 years. Continuously, you'll get intermediate level. So it's quite a high level of English. Another survey, so many surveys. Again, the HR managers say the same thing again. If you speak English, your salary will be higher compared to people who don't speak English. That is just a standard feedback from all HR managers who are surveyed. 70% of the executives, these are the very senior people in the companies, they say that their workforce will have to be masters of English. A master of English is not intermediate anymore. A master of English is someone whose level is so high that it's getting close. It's getting close to first language. That's a master. So that's the future. So the importance of English is getting more and more important every year. So if you've got intermediate English now, it's great. It can help you get a job. But in the future, intermediate English won't be enough. In the future, you will need to have a very, very high level of English. So you don't stop learning English. You have to keep learning and you don't stop. And if you haven't started, you have to start today. Otherwise you'll fall behind, and further behind, and further behind. I want to talk a little bit about multinational companies. Multinational companies are companies that that operate in many different countries. And some of the biggest and most well-known companies that you have heard of are multinational companies. Let's look at multinational companies and see what they say about how important English is. According to the United Nations, in 1990 there were about 30,000 multinational companies. Today there are 63,000, and they're growing and growing and growing. These are some of the multinational companies that I'm talking about. Apple, Google, Samsung, Microsoft, Exxon, Toyota, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's. McDonald's isn't in Vietnam, but it's a bit like KFC. Walmart. Walmart's a huge supermarket chain in America. These are multinational companies. More and more of these multinational companies are mandating. Mandating means it's compulsory. You must have. Bakbur. Mandating. Bakbur. English is the corporate language. So if you work for Apple and you work in China and you want to talk to someone who works for Apple in France, on a conference call with someone who works with Apple in Germany, the language you will speak will be English. That's why it's mandated. It's the common language within multinationals. It's the same with all of these companies here. It's even the same with Samsung, I heard. Even though Samsung, a lot of the executives in Samsung speak Korean, when they have international conference, English is the language they use. Okay, a little bit more about that. Another survey, lots of surveys, lots of evidence. 2010, 26,000 non-native English speaking employees in international corporations said that 55% of employers were using English every day at work. Only 4% said they didn't use any English at all. So in these multinationals, half the staff working in all of these multinationals are using English every day. And I wonder, how often are you using English every day? And if you're not using it every day, in the future you probably will need to in your future job or in your new promoted job. That's just a graph sort of supporting the information. More than half, the big slice, more than half using English every day. But even the small section, even the smaller ones, using English 2 or 3 times a month. Even if you don't have much English, you'll still have to use it regularly. Even if it's not every day, you'll still have to use it regularly, 2-3 times a week, 3-4 times a month. Because of all of this information, and because English is growing so quickly in research, in technology, in companies, in the corporate world, because English is the language of the global economy, there's a sense that I get from young Vietnamese that now English, it's very urgent. It's very urgent to learn English now. It's like, I've got to learn English today, otherwise I lose a lot of opportunities in the future. This feeling of urgency is very, very strong, and it's important for you to know about it. And I'll tell you why it's important to know about it. But if you look at this graph, about 40% of people say they need to improve their English in the next 6 months. 40% of the people say they need to improve their English in the next 6 months or 1 year to get a promotion. And if they don't, they won't get a promotion or they won't get a job. The yellow section, not so urgent for them, but they still feel that they have to improve their English in the next 1 or 2 years. So there's a strong feeling, everyone knows, everyone's very clever, we all know that English is absolutely essential now if you want to guarantee a career in any industry. The Vietnamese government also is acting in a very aggressive and very strong and a very urgent way. And the Vietnamese government has done many, many, many things in Vietnam in the last 15 years to promote English in Vietnam, but I just want to talk about 3. I've only got time to talk about 3 of them. But these are the 3 that I think are quite interesting. The 2020 project again. Now look at this. This is the aim of the 2020 project. This is what the Vietnamese government wants to happen by 2020. Most students graduating from colleges, universities, secondary schools will be able to use a foreign language confidently in their daily communication, study and work. making foreign languages a comparative advantage for the development of industrialisation and modernisation. Now, the Vietnamese government, of course, is not just talking about English, they're talking about foreign languages, but of course we all know the main foreign language they're actually talking about is English. But they're being very fair. They mean English. English is the major focus of the foreign language of the 2020 project. A second thing, if you're a Vietnamese student doing a degree, I understand that you cannot receive your degree until you show evidence that your English is at a minimum level. Is that right? This comes from the government. This is a great way of saying English is very important. You can study business, or chemistry, or become a doctor. But whatever degree you get, if you can't speak English to a good level, we're not going to give you a degree. So this is a very strong commitment from the government. And I think it's very difficult to do, but I think it's very good to try and do it. And of course, the TOEIC test seems to be the test that most students will take to show that they have good English. And when they show that they have good English, then they can get their degree from the university. But if you don't have a TOEIC, or if you don't have any English, you won't get your degree. They will just keep the degree in their pocket, and they will never give it to you. So you have to study English. This is another important thing that the Vietnamese government has done. The Vietnamese government has said that English is now compulsory. Compulsory, bắt buộc, phải học. From grade 3, you have to study English from grade 3. Now, how many people here studied English from grade 3? Put your hand up. I studied English from grade 3. Anyone else? Maybe 10 people, 20 people? So, if you didn't study, if you're 20 years old today, and you haven't studied English from grade 3, and in 5 or 6 or 10 years' time, you're applying for a job, and one of the other people applying for the job has been studying English since grade 3, who's probably going to get that job if English is one of the main criteria? Of course, the younger person who's already started studying English from grade 3. So this is very important for you. This is very good for your children, but it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. This helps your children. But what about you? What are you going to do? All of your children are going to study English from grade 3. But what about you? Are you going to surrender? Are you going to give up? What's surrender? In Vietnamese, I'm trying to remember the word surrender. Are you going to give up? Well, you can't give up. You've got to pay for the bills, you've got to buy a house, you've got to buy a car, you've got to buy nice clothes, you've got to buy an iPad, you've got to buy all sorts of things. So you can't just give up because you don't know English. But in the future, for sure, you will lose opportunities against younger people because their English will be better than yours. So this is a serious problem for a lot of you, I think. You are falling behind younger people. You are falling behind younger people related to English. And as every day, every week, every year goes by, you are getting further and further and further behind the young people. Because the young people are studying English every day at school. And you haven't had the chance to do it. So this is a serious problem for you. But I have a solution to tell you later. So again, with the young children, it's very interesting. Approximately 20% of the students in grade 3, and they will gradually expand the number of grade 3 students to around 70% by the end of 2015. That's in 2 more years. In 2 more years, 70% of the students, grade 3 students in Vietnam will start learning English. And by 100% in 2018. That's 5 years away. So in 5 years' time, everyone in grade 3 in the country is learning English. So, I think in about 10 years' time, in 10 years' time, and 15 years' time, when you are all about 35, and you're looking for a promotion, in your companies, there will be some young people who are about 21, 22, and their English will be fantastic. And you will be 35, and you're looking for a promotion in the same company. But because your English isn't as good as the 22-year-old's English, because this 22 has gone through the new system, you might, in the future, you might find that because you're wise, you've potoi, you're wise, you have nghiệp, but you don't have English. And so maybe these young people who don't have nghiệp, and they don't have toi, but they have English, so they may get selected for some jobs that you won't. So this is a big challenge for most of you. So let's go, that's a bit of background on English, how important it is, and the challenge for the people here today is that you are of an age where most of you didn't have the opportunity to learn English a lot. Some of you did, but most of you didn't. So what do you do now? Do you just give up? Do you just go home and stop and throw everything away? No, we have to do something. So my suggestion for you is that there's 3 steps. There's three steps for everyone here to respond to this problem of the younger people who will be taking jobs away from you in the future when they get older. And the first step is you have to start studying English now. Don't wait till next week or next month. Don't wait till after TEP. Everyone says to me, I say, why don't you study English now? So I'm busy. I'll start Zatep. I said, no, it's too late. You have to start English today. That's 6 months away. And then after TEP, they say, Zatep. Have to start English now. It's very important. Every day you don't study English, you get further behind. The second, immerse yourself. Does anyone know what immerse means? What does immerse mean? Sorry? I don't know what that means. But I think you're right. Immerse means you throw yourself into something completely. Immerse. You jump into something completely. Like jumping into a swimming pool. That means, actually, don't just study English in class and then leave class and don't do anything else. That's not enough. You have to jump into English completely, as much as you can. The second step, you have to use it. You have to use your English. Even if your English is not very good, your pronunciation is not very good, your grammar is not very good, don't worry. You have to use it. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's like your owl. If you don't do any exercise, you will not owl. If you don't use your English, you will lose your English. You have to use it every day. You've got to practice every day. It's the same as your waist. So the main thing here is you have to start now. You have to do everything you can to immerse yourself in English. Don't just study one English course. Don't just do one English course and stop. It's not enough. And you have to practice forever. Even after you retire, you still should keep using it. Immerse yourself. If you start immersing yourself in English, a lot of you here aren't married, I think you're too young to be married. If your English is good and you marry someone who has good English, the good thing is when you have children, your children's English will be fantastic. So it's very important for your children that you start learning English now, so that when you have a family, your children will know English well and they will have a big advantage over other children who don't know. So if you don't want to study English for you, at least you can study English for your children. Use English everywhere. So, you go to the classroom and you study English and you talk to everyone. Hello, how are you again? Everything's good for 1 hour, wonderful lesson. Then you walk out of the classroom and then you're with your friends and then you start talking Vietnamese. That's not what you have to do. What you have to do is the classroom is a very small part of the English learning. You have to use English outside the classroom every chance that you can, everywhere that you can. Use English everywhere. Use English with anyone. Speak to strangers. Speak to foreigners. We are not very dangerous. We will not hurt you. Technology, you're very lucky. When I was studying Vietnamese, there was no internet. You have the internet. You can study English on the internet. You can do everything you do with your whatever website you're using, your Facebook, social connections, what the music, the videos that you're watching or making. It all can be done in English. You can surround yourself with English. So it's a great opportunity with the technology and the internet for you to not just learn English in the classroom, but to learn English through many other ways when you use the media. And of course, you have to design your lifestyle around creating opportunity for English. If there's an English play at the Heartland, you should go buy a ticket. Make the most. If there's an English band or English musician in Hanoi, go see them. Make the most of your chances. Don't just rely on English class. Rely on English class plus other things. Plus. I've already talked about that. If the parents of children who speak English, those children generally perform better academically and usually have good opportunity to go maybe to an international school or study abroad. If you're a parent with children, you should read English with your children. Read and read. And after you've finished reading, read some more. And read. So you should always read English as much as you can. Why? Because reading will help your writing as well. Reading, the more you read, it will help your writing. So I encourage you, don't read Vietnamese newspapers all the time. Read some English newspapers and get on some English websites too. Make the most of the internet. Write. Keep writing in English. If you've got a diary, nhật ký, write it in English. Facebook, post English. Use your imagination. Use English everywhere that you possibly can. If you're sending little letters to your girlfriend and you throw the letter to your girlfriend, write it in English. Speak up. Again, use it or lose it. You've got to speak as much as you can. The worst thing you can do is be shy. If you're sort of you'll never learn English. Don't worry about your mistakes. Don't let anyone worry about your mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the more you will improve. And finally, for the advice, you do need to find a good language centre. It's very important you find a good language centre because you can immerse yourself in English, but you still need some professional help with the technical side of reading. You still need good teachers to explain to you and help you use English in the right way. So that it is very important as well. And it's a very important part of immersion. Some mistakes in learning English. Okay, there's three main mistakes, I think. I know a lot of students who study English, and after class, they never speak English, they never read English. They hope that after 2 months, the English will get really good, but they only use English in class. It's the worst thing you can do. The mistake is not speaking and writing. You need to speak and write as much as you can. English isn't like maths. If you want to study maths, You can study 1 or 2 hours a week, right? You study maths 1 or 2 hours a week, you'll improve, yeah? English is not maths. English is not a subject, really. English is a life event. English is a way of life. You have to start thinking in English. It's not just in class, it's outside class as well. The third mistake. A lot of people I know, young Vietnamese, they want to go to America to do a degree. They want to go to America in September, and they have maybe 3 weeks to do an English course, and they want to do an English course in 3 weeks, so the English can be so good that they can go to America. But of course, languages take a long time. Languages, you can't learn a language in weeks or months or even a year. You have to learn regularly, daily, over a long period of time. So they're the 3 major mistakes. I've listed up here a lot of technical things here, and you can just read these yourself. These, as a professional teacher myself, these are the technical mistakes that I hear all the time. And I just want to let you know that I know what technical areas you should focus on. And these are some of the things in English which are very difficult, especially for Vietnamese students, because the grammar and structure in Vietnamese is so different to English. But the ordering of words and adjectives, of course. Articles, and, that, or no article. Nouns, house, houses, air, airs, no, air. Countable, non-countable nouns, prepositions, to, from, under, on, at, about. Verb tenses, very difficult, I would say. Third person S. Plural nouns, or spelling mistake. These are the key technical areas that I think a lot of Vietnamese students have trouble with. And I think this is where a good English teacher and a good English centre can help. They can help you directly with these technical issues to help you, to give you the approach to start producing sentences without these mistakes. So these are the reasons that you should seek a good teacher or a good centre. But it's only the beginning. The lady told me to do this. I think she wants me to kill myself. Or maybe to stop. So I have to stop now. A quick summary. It's the most common language in the world for non-natives and for non-native speakers. If you speak English, you'll be more employable, your standard of life will be very high, and the standard of life of your children will be higher than it would be if they didn't grow up in an English-speaking family. English is the language of IT, economics, research, travel and science. If you are interested in a career in any of these areas, you really need to know English. Of course, it's widely used all over the world. I tried learning Chinese 10 years ago. I gave up after about 2 months because it was too difficult to remember all of the Chinese characters. And I realised that English in some way is easier to learn because it's got an alphabet like Vietnamese. So it can be a little bit easier to learn. Even for entertainment, if you like films and you don't speak English, you're missing out on some fantastic art. So even for entertainment, English is really useful, I would say. And of course, English opens up opportunities, it opens doors for study, for work. It opens up doors for scholarships, for study abroad. If you want to go to top universities in the UK or in the States, English absolutely necessary. Learn English and your children will also learn English naturally at home. If you learn English, the chances are that you'll have a high income. Chances are, if you know English, you'll get promotions more easily, you'll get jobs more easily. And because of all of those things, if you know English, you might have a nicer house, you might have a bigger TV, you might have a nicer car because you can afford it. And the main thing to take from today, from my long presentation, Don't delay. Start studying now. Don't delay. The longer you delay, the further behind you will get. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Xin chúc mừng là Trần Việt Hương, giám đốc hành của công ty Bên Đan sẽ lên trao hoa và quà cho ông Gavan. What's the flower for you? Thank you. Xin mời quý vị nữa để cảm ơn ông Gavan Iacono. Xin cảm ơn Trần Việt Hương.